Hello, I'm Nathan Leahy, and welcome to Next Week in Gaming. First up is the summer sale from GOG, which ends on Wednesday the 22nd of June. This one is literally going to end at the same time that I believe the Steam summer sale starts, which is one day before payday, which is rather convenient for me. And the question that's on everyone's mind is how much is the Witcher 3 DRM-free version going to be? And it is 50% off currently on the GOG summer sale, which I think is the lowest it's ever been. I know a couple of other places had it on at a similar price, but this is the lowest that you can currently get it DRM free, which is pretty cool. GOG has sort of updated itself quite a bit these days, and it's not just older games but a lot of newer ones as well, and a hell of a lot of top quality indie titles like Pillars of Eternity and Don't Starve, and masses and masses and masses of modern games. Tons of sales, all going up to like 90% off. I think the lowest I've seen is about 30% on games like Stories The Path of Destinies. There's a DRM free version of that, which is actually pretty awesome. And of course there is a weird little XP system. Some people got System Shock 2 for free when the GOG summer sale started. And once you collect all of this XP, or a certain amount of XP, you get free stuff and tokens and all this crazy stuff. So yeah, generally one of the best online retailers to buy purely for that DRM free swag. First up next week, we see the release of a game called Dead by Daylight. This releases on Tuesday the 14th of June. It is by Behaviour Digital and published by Starbreeze. Now, this is a 4 versus 1 game, very similar to the murder mod on Gary's mod, if you've ever played that, where one person's the murderer, everyone else is just sort of bystanders, and they sort of have to try not to get killed and eventually kill the murderer, or everyone fails and it's a good old laugh. But this is another one of those 4 versus 1 games where, I don't know, Evolve did not work. Like, it was great to start with, but then sort of just collapsed and hit like a critical mass and then imploded upon itself, and no one really plays it anymore as far as I'm aware. So this is kind of already on the back foot, considering a huge studio tried to do the 4v1 thing before. But this one takes a couple of alternative measures in that the map, every single time, is procedurally randomly generated. So each time you play a level, it's never going to be the same, and you're always going to have to be sort of on your toes, and you won't get a huge amount of time to really get to know your surroundings. So it'll be different every time, which is quite nice. Freshens things up a bit. One person's going to play the serial killer, or crazy killer, not necessarily a serial killer. They get a bunch of different guises, so you can be a generic person that goes around chopping people with axes, or you can be a slightly more paranormal style killer, which is a sort of interesting way of going about things. And then there's 4 survivors, and the purpose of the survivors is not to kill the killer, but merely to escape this main sort of killing area and make it to the edges, which is going to be more difficult than you would think because of the procedurally generated maps, just to make things a bit more difficult. There is some kind of sort of persistence throughout the game, in that there is sort of like a weird little RPG system, a bit of unlockables for both the killer and the survivors. I'm not entirely sure what the details on those really are. The game itself looks kind of older in terms of visual style. It definitely looks like it's been done on a lower budget. I just feel like this is going to struggle quite badly because of that 4 versus 1 gameplay. And matchmaking is hard when your game is not particularly huge, and you're relying on people trusting themselves to pay for the game and actually want to enjoy it, and then building a community. So it's just that, like, they've tried to make a game in a very difficult genre indeed. Releasing on Thursday the 16th of June is a game called Pro Cycling Manager 2016, which I had no idea existed until a couple of days ago, and I actually learned that it's a series. So not only is this a peculiar game that's developed by a sort of budget developer who doesn't really do those sorts of games, it's by Cyanide, the Blood Bowl and Styx and All Orcs and Men people, published by Focus Home Interactive, the people who always publish Cyanide stuff. But now apparently they make a cycling manager game, and not just one, they made many, which A, means that these people have experience in making cycling managers, and B, the first one made enough money so that they could make more. Now, I have never heard of this game up until now, and I sort of expected this to be one of those games like NBA 2K16 or Pro Evolution Soccer, where it's just the same developer pumping out the same stuff over and over again because it's wildly popular with teenagers. But Cycling Manager, I've never heard of it. My friend's never heard of it. I said to some guy like a couple of hours ago, I was like, hey, you'll never guess what I'm writing about. And I said Pro Cycling Manager 2016. And they were like, oh, is it by one of those German studios that makes all those simulators? I was like, no, this is by a reasonably decent studio who don't make sports games. So yeah, this is a peculiar game. I never realized there was a market for this, but apparently there is, quite a large one, considering there are so many sequels. It's rather amusing. The write-up says, your decisions will shape the greatest victories. And I believe it also says somewhere along the lines of, it's up to you to coordinate every aspect of a team's life. Those are sort of incredible words indeed, coming from a game that is all about managing your cycling team. You don't actually get to do any cycling. You just sort of manage your team's lives and do incredible victories. So honestly, like, there's no gameplay trailer for this. There's a couple of gameplay snippets of Cycling Manager 2015, which I had to look at beforehand, but is there really still a market for this? I mean, it looks budgety, as do all Cyanide games. I don't know why games like this make money. Do people want to play Cycling Managers? Releasing sometime this spring is a game called Narcosis. It's by developers Honor Code, and judging by the gameplay and the 3-sentence write-up on the game's Steam page, it is very, very, very similar to Soma, except it's lower budget and by a developer I've never heard of before. And basically this is a horror, I would say survival, but I don't think it really is much of a survival game, where you're at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, so it's nice to be in a real ocean, as opposed to the crazy dreamscape in Soma, and you have to make it to the surface without running out of oxygen. And there is an insanity meter, so aside from being similar to Soma in almost every aspect, it then steals or utilizes, shall we say, a system from Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and sort of it looks quite budgety. You have a small torch, and I don't know, the whole purpose of this game is to crawl through these caves as well as these man-made little tunnel things all over the place, peruse some dead bodies or some what I assume are dead bodies inside other diving suits, and make it to the surface. Aside from that, there's nothing else at all to this game. There's no write-up, there's no sort of information about it whatsoever. It just looks quite low budget. It looks like it's straight up gone, hey, Soma was popular, hey, survival games are popular, let's make one ourselves and do it underwater. For all I know, it could be fantastic, but judging by the fact that Soma was pretty awesome, and I hate horror games, I think they have kind of a tough audience to impress. So I'm not 100% sure about this game, but it looked like one of the better releases of this week, of which there are many trashy ones. So who knows, it might not be too bad, although I doubt it. So that's it from us at NextPowerUp. Join us next week on Saturday for our next Week in Gaming episode. I've been away for a while. I know I didn't do a video and I haven't been doing reviews at all lately, which are not happening ever. But I am back on track now. And what I'm going to do is every time a new reasonably sort of large game releases, like with the Hard Reset Redux and with that flying simulator game, House of Rising Sun or whatever it was, I'm going to start doing some performance analyses, and hopefully you guys will find those marginally useful. It doesn't take too much time to do a decent performance analysis, and because I have a soon-to-be redundant top-tier card, it makes performance analysis reasonably decent and useful for most of you. So yeah, we're going to do a bit of that. Mostly been playing Warlords Adrenal, gearing up in preparation for the Legion expansion in August around my birthday, which is pretty damn cool, and also waiting up for that Steam Summer Sale. Haven't been playing much Magic the Gathering recently. Like I said, I was on a training course for about a week and just sort of felt tired for a week afterwards. So I've just been toying around and split up my little Landfall deck and made a werewolf deck, which kind of sucks, but never mind. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week. Yeah, look out for a couple of performance analysis.